that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day, home and away.
Welcome to Home and Away, a Tottenham Hotspur podcast hosted by myself, Graham Spice, and Glenn Cowie, where we discuss all things Tottenham Hotspur with both a match attending and international supporters view. Glenn, are you good?
I'm good. I'm doing good, man. Have had a good start to the week. Busy at work. We've had scorching few days down under. It's now cooled off to a manageable 24 today. We were in 37 degrees. I know that's going to make you jealous. And I think you've, by the sounds of things, picked up a bit of a winter cold, mate.
I did. I think I probably got it on the plane back from Greece last week. But yeah, it's kind of been building over the weekend. And one of my colleagues who was there with me has it as well. So we've been snotty on calls together this week.
Never fun. Never fun.
No.
Well, let's hope we get on to the first win in a while in the league. But I thought a good place to start would be some transfer news. We signed some players.
Yeah, that was really quite a weekend, wasn't it? I think Kevin Danso came in, was it Friday, I think, that was agreed?
Yeah.
And then he'd already had an agreement, verbal agreement with Wolves, and was on his way to Wolves to have a medical on Sunday. And then for some reason, crack team of scouts who obviously had been looking at him for a long time and not waiting until the last possible minute to see who else was interested in him. He agreed to come with us, and on Saturday he had everything was done and dusted. On Saturday he came to London, had his medical, and he was announced Saturday evening. Interesting, because although he's an Austrian international, he did all his academies in the UK, so he's actually counts as homegrown.
Right. Okay. Well, that's well. And also, from what I've heard from Ange, and I haven't really looked him up as far as his YouTube highlights or whatever, but Ange Postecoglou come out and basically said he fits the mould of what we need. Quick, attacks the ball, can bring the ball out, very comfortable. He seems to be a big lad, which is which is good news. And I suppose what comes with good news, there's some bad news in that we get onto it maybe later on who's available for Liverpool and who isn't. But Dragonstein's out for the season, isn't he?
So like 1 and 2 out. Yeah,
the
usual.
How
much? Just I think that was before Dragonstein got injured, of course.
Yeah.
And because we were all full of the joys of spring because he had Van der Ven back for the match. And he 45 minutes.
No, indeed.
Which is what he was scheduled to play. So we were like, oh, fantastic. He'll be ready for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Some foreshadowing there. We'll come on to that later on.
No, indeed. I look forward to that discussion. But in the centre-back area as well, we didn't sign him, but we made we've seen on its face a late bid of 70 million for Mark Gay.
For me, that feels like a token gesture. They were never going to let him go on the last day of the transfer window, were they?
No.
I mean, and especially not at 70. I mean, maybe in the summer you'll get him for that. But I think that
frustrating to me, right? We could have done it 2 or 3 weeks ago. Why don't we just bid 100? Because the money's there.
The issue isn't how much it was. We didn't give them time to find a replacement, right? So you do that on January the 1st, there's a chance it might happen. But we don't do business early. The only one we've done early was Kinski.
Yeah, Kinski was in the door early. But Gay's an interesting one because, of course, by the time the summer rolls around, he will only have 12 months left on his contract, won't he? So it may become a position of...
And there'll also be other people sniffing around him as well, though, right? That's the problem.
Mark are interested in him. Do you think that spells that Romero might be off out the door? Do you think he's gone in the summer?
Well, I think I mentioned this last time, and I'm still not sure. Isn't he left-sided? Isn't he another lefty?
Yeah, that's actually a great point.
So, how many left-sided centre-backs do we need?
Yeah.
I think I've said it's like the left-hand game. I think I'm not sure if it's the squad will be balanced. But maybe, I don't know, maybe, what do I know? What do I know? Not very much.
Well,
and then to the last day of the transfer window, where we've been rejected by everyone and his mate, and I think I said on the last podcast, I think which was Thursday, was it Thursday morning?
I believe so, yeah.
Thursday morning, we've got more chance of signing William Tell than Matthias Tell. And it turns out I was wrong, because somehow we went from him not being remotely interested in coming to us and holding out for Man United or Arsenal or Chelsea or anyone except us, to complete. The next thing you know, there's a photograph of him on a private jet on his way to London for a medical. And I think interesting. I've heard the turn of events of how that came about. I think I was just talking to you about it before the pod. Firstly, Langer went over to meet his people to talk about it. They were clearly not impressed with our beige director of boredom. Then, so Langer phoned Levy up and said, "You would need to come out here and close the deal on this one." So Levy goes out, also not impressed, because they start talking about projects, and I don't think the players aren't necessarily injured in.
He just wants to play football.
He wants to play football, exactly. So the next thing is, right, so it's at that point it's not happening, and then that was probably Friday again.
Yeah.
So then on Monday, I think Ange calls him.
Full flirt mode from Ange.
Literally, it's like the Pied Piper, isn't he? He just unbelievable. So he talks to him about the style of play and where he sees him fitting into the team and what he thinks he can bring to the team. And he said, "I think the way that you play will be really effective in the Premier League." And he just wins him over. And I think the final thing is that in his interview, he also said that he spoke to Harry Kane, and Harry Kane said, "It's a great club. All the facilities are fantastic. You should go to get the games. You'll play there, and they'll love you." So it comes down to that. Ultimately, the players want reassurances from the playing staff, not the faceless bureaucrats in the background.
Which is what we want. We want players to come and want to play for us and want to be invested in getting minutes on the pitch. Now, interestingly, I obviously caught up with all of this when I woke up on Monday morning, and it wasn't until about 7, 8 in the morning my time when I realised, this is on. And then they didn't actually announce it until very, very, very late as far as Sky Sports News announcing it. But it went back and forth. There is an option to buy, isn't there? So
yes, originally it was just a straight loan, but while they were negotiating the details, I guess they managed to get it included. I think it will be 55 million euros plus add-ons should we buy him. But obviously, we've got the option to buy him, but he's got to want to be bought as well.
Yeah,
so we shall see.
Well, my biggest fear with a straight loan only was that it come in and do really well and then sign for Chelsea or Arsenal in the summer.
Yeah.
So at least we...
Yeah, well, that could still happen.
Could still happen, but at least we've tried to mitigate that where we can get perfect usual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a good young player, another one for the teenage club that we need to be building. I think he can play in pretty much anywhere along the front three.
Well, and I was seeing something out there. There's a German journalist, I don't know who he is, but he was doing a bit of a talk about him, and he said Matthias Tell needs to play through the middle. Like, that is his best position. He can use both feet. He's quick turn of pace. He's a tricky player, and down the middle is where you're going to see him thrive. That's what his view was. Take it for what it's worth. So it'd be interesting to see where Ange uses him, because Son, I feel, doesn't do as well down the middle, and he's better out on the left. You've got Mikey Moore and Son for those positions. On the right, you could argue you'd rather have Kulu in the middle than on the right.
So then you're talking Johnson and or Son or
correct
Mikey Moore again.
And then you've got Tell now that can obviously operate left, right, or down the middle. So, but Charlton's been playing quite well, I think.
Yeah, he's been okay. And Odobert to come back as well, of course.
Yeah.
So that's due March, I think-ish.
Yeah.
So, all in all, good option. I guess the fact that he's a bit more versatile will really help. And I'm hoping we get to see him on Thursday.
I think he starts. Do you think he starts?
I do, yeah. I think that you don't blow smoke up his arse and then not play him in a big game like that, right? I think I'd have him in ahead of Son at this point.
Yeah, straight. Yeah.
I know. Every time I say that, I have to look back. I think, well, he has got 2 assists in the last game, or blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I just think his overall contribution's been apart from the goals and the assists. He doesn't give you much else.
He looks quiet. He looks tired. He just looks like he probably just needs a rest. And you wonder in a semi-final, would he be more impactful to be on the bench and come on 60 minutes or something, you know?
And Tell hasn't been playing frequently. He's been a bit of a fringe player this season, which is unfortunate because he played a lot last season.
Yeah. No, indeed. Well, thank you, Mr. Kane, for helping that one get over the line. And then departures. Yang, we talked about this, I think, pre this one, but Yang Min Hook and Will Langshire, both out on loan, QPR and West Brom.
Yeah, there's a couple of the other youngsters gone out as well to various places, but mostly just clearing the youngsters to give them a match time, I guess. Still think those two, Hook and Will Langshire, are the ones that if we were worried about the squad depth, I would have kept them. But, you know, we've not seen Yang Min Hook play for Tottenham yet, so we don't really know if he's any good. We only know that Andrew's seen him on the training ground, and if he doesn't fancy him yet, maybe he needs toughening up a bit, and maybe he'll get that.
Well, hopefully, and just while we're on the topic of the transfers, there was a late arrival. I saw just a tweet about it today. It's the highly thought of Irish Mason Melia, 17 years old. He's signed with a deal that will run until 2031, but he joins us in January 2026 due to Brexit regulations.
Brexit.
Yeah, so he signed from St Pat's FC, but he's very highly thought of in Ireland. So it seems to me, because I think they signed a couple of others, one from Liverpool, one from Chelsea. They seem to be really wanting to build that academy back up.
Yeah, I guess we've had a lot of those players, the ones that won the PL2 last year, didn't they?
Yeah,
I think those players have kind of moved on into the first team or moved on away from Tottenham. So Mason Melia, there was two others. You're right. There was three in total that
we pinched. Yeah, well, and look,
was it something Craig? Someone I can't.
Yeah, there was one that I got sent by somebody else, and I have a fundamental issue with a lot of why these types of deals are done, because his name was, I'm trying to bloody find it now, but where I'm going with this is I have a fundamental issue. A lot of the academy products that come over from other clubs, Russell Denny was the one that we picked up from Chelsea.
Yeah.
They will sell those academy players to us or to others. And then for PSR, that's pure profit. And that's how they can help balance the books. So I don't love that youth products are just almost treated like cattle just to balance books. It frustrates me. But look, I'll gladly take it, and hopefully we benefit from it, and they're good players that we get in the door.
It's there's two others over than the one you said as well. There's Daniel Batty.
Yeah, okay. Any relation to David?
Don't know, but he's from Man City's youth setup.
Okay.
Phoenix of Fire.
Okay, sounds like a movie you're going to see.
I know. I like his dad's name's Chariot. He is. He's Martin of Fire's son.
Really?
Yeah, I bet he's built like a brick shit house. Yeah, he's joined the academy on an 18-month deal. He's only 15.
Oh,
but I bet he looks like he's 35 already. And then that Mason Melia is the one that you mentioned. So yeah, I mean, we're obviously fleshing out the academy again. So which is good. I mean, no complaints. Well, keep churning out the first team players, then all power to them.
If that Daniel Batty's come from City generally produce pretty good academy grads. Like Cole Palmer is obviously the standout. And I'm just doing some live Googling to see if he is related to David Batty. It's not confirmed. I don't know if it is or not, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was. But no, look, all in all, where would you score our window? I think like some of the stuff happened a bit later for my liking, but I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. We needed a keeper. We've got one. We needed a centre-half. It's a pity that Radu's now out, and we probably could have argued and needed another one. And then we needed attacking options. One thing I would say, we're still, for me, a little bit light in the centre of the park, in that if you miss Bentancur, you really miss him. Could we have brought someone in on a short-term deal that can slot in and also be happy to be on the bench, maybe an older statesman? But overall, I would give it a 7 out of 10. How about you, mate?
I'd say like 6 or 7. A decent. I'm happy with the players that we did bring in, but I think that the issue was as quick as we were bringing them in, we were breaking them.
Yeah.
And so we've ended up actually with less people available at the end of the window than we had at the beginning of it because of the injuries again. We got, we drag us in and there's still no clear answer on Van der Ven, right? I was watching Last Word on Spurs last night and they had Paul O'Keefe on and he was saying that he literally was rested. So after the game, was never intending to play the full. He was a bit sore the day after, so he's been, but no mention of the needs a new hamstring operations and all the other stuff that I've seen floating around in rumours on the internet. So I feel that there's something.
It's like I said to you, if Ange Postecoglou is anything, he's not a liar. He's almost too honest for his own good. So I don't think he's come out and not been truthful. It's just there's clearly something going on. I mean, I hope that we see him in the Liverpool game. Let's hope.
Yeah, exactly. But he turns up, we're winning everything. We're winning.
There we go. Yeah. Well, speaking of games, we got a win in the league. My prediction was right. I had a feeling. I just had a feeling that the terrible run needed to end. I had a feeling it was going to end against Brentford, away to Brentford. It's a weird thing to say, but what I really liked about the performance is we won without being that good. Like, it was gritty, it was determined, we dug in, we even went long sometimes, which is unheard of.
We were much more balanced, weren't we?
Way more balanced.
The fullbacks weren't in as advanced positions as we would usually expect them to be.
Yeah,
which I think helped, but we still conceded a lot of chances again.
We certainly did.
But clean sheet. First one for Kinski.
Yeah, and on that, on the defensive performance, I think it's come out after the game that Archie Gray basically said Ben Davies talked him through that the whole 90 minutes. Yeah. And Ben Davies, for me, I was on the fence about if he's going to be around next season. I think he's earned the option of a renewal. Like, I think he's been fantastic.
I think he's great to have around the place. I think he's a real role model for the younger players. And I don't think he's someone that would complain if he didn't play regularly and if he was just used as a squad rotation player. I don't think he'd have a problem with that. And maybe he can do his coaching badges while he's doing that.
Yeah,
I'm quite happy to have him around the place. I think now, would that make it 10 years or was he already passed?
Oh, no, 100%. It's long. I think it's longer than
11, maybe.
I think it's 11 years. I actually had the pleasure of meeting Ben Davies in 2015 when the squad came out to Colorado, and Colorado Spurs were fortunate enough to do a thing at the Children's Hospital with them. It's quite a funny story, actually. There was like a cohort of players that came and gave gifts out to some of the sick children, and it was Tom Carroll, Ben Davies, Nasser Chadley, and Ryan Mason, I think. But then the ambassador that was there was Ledley King. And we were kind of in this holding room before we went around to the wards, and we all got to raise our hands of who we wanted to go around with. And as soon as I saw Ledley was there, I just put my hand straight up. I was going to be with him. And I spent the whole afternoon with Ledley King, like just a really nice bloke. But anyway, towards the end of the day, I got to chat with Ben Davies. Really nice bloke. And that was in 2015. And I think he'd been there a season. So I think he's 11 years.
Yeah.
Which is a rare thing, right? We've got Sonny, him probably as our
absolutely the longest serving by miles. So in terms of the game itself, I think we had that Youngman Son corner that led to the own goal.
What did you make of every time we had a corner? What did you make of the grappling? Like it was
a lot of it going on.
Yeah, and there was one where it was like, I think it was on Dragerson? Like, who was it on? And they were, I mean, it was pretty bad. And even when that goal went in, if you watch the highlights, Ben Davies was grappled to the floor.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he was scored, so it didn't really matter.
I thought that there was a big clampdown on all that shit like a couple of seasons ago, but now it seems to be everything's fair game. if it's not seen by the ref, then anything goes, it seems like at the moment. But I think one of the other things for me was when we mentioned it, the kind of defensive resilience. I thought we were more pragmatic, more solid. And even at 1-0, I never felt like we were really overrun or anything. I think it was still a fairly balanced game. And then that second goal was hanging in the Louvre, mate. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Brilliant assist, perfectly weighted ball. And the finish was great. The commentary I had suggested that the goalie, who isn't their regular goalie, probably didn't need to come out that far. But whatever,
whoever your crap commentator was, he wasn't Alan Smith.
Listen,
I would take anyone over him. He's dull and he's a gooner, so it's not a great combo for me.
But sexy football, right? Great goal, lovely finish, and we needed it. It was getting to the end of the game, and you make a good point. It wasn't like I was ever super worried, but I could just see it coming that they were going to get a scrappy equaliser,
and they did have chances in injury time as well. But with the second goal, the anxiety was kind of taken out of it a little bit. So
Correct.
That was great.
Correct. I thought my call outs for the game itself was Spence. I thought he had a fantastic game. Benzia, I thought was brilliant, and then also I already called him out. Ben Davies as well was fantastic.
I personally don't think that Udogie gets his place back. Yeah, and he's fit. But did you hear what Ange said? Basically, he said he's been great deputising there until Udogie's back. So it was almost intimating that. But then if Udogie comes back on that side, I'd have him on the other side instead of Porro as well.
Yeah, you give Porro a rest.
I think he gives you something different. He's more aggressive. He's powerful. He's almost like a fullback version of Kulusevski.
Yeah,
that sort of running with the ball.
And a lot of people go back to the Conte outburst after the Southampton game as, he knew he's called out of the club. But he also said Jed Spence was a club signing and never played him. So there you go.
That goes to show you the club does know what they're doing sometimes.
Yeah,
I suppose even a broken clock's right twice a day, right?
No, indeed. But overall, a good result.
First win since mid-December.
Yeah,
and that
was away to Southampton. So huge win. Also, Chelsea did us a bit of a favour because West Ham were 1-0 up, and then we were back down in the 16th off that result, and then Chelsea came back. So we're 14, and Man United lost, and we play Man United next. So I think we can go above them with a win.
Yeah, and they're really shaky at the moment, aren't they?
They just look so easy to play against. It's weird. Like at Old Trafford, they just look so easy to play through the lines. Yeah, so they're 29 points, we're 27. If we can win that game in the league, we've got other games to discuss before then, of course, but if we can win that game, then we would go above them. So, and that's at home. So hopefully, I felt something turning after the Elfsborg win, even though it was against a crap team. And hopefully we can just start to put this spell behind us when we start to get players back. So
that one was a real feel-good win. And I think this one was a relief. It was like, thank fuck we got 3 points in the league.
Yeah.
Really felt the relief after this one. But solid performance. I was concerned because Mbeumo's a really good player, and I thought that he's always turned up against us. But Spence had really marshalled him very well for most of the game. Excellent.
Well,
very good.
Also, I just wonder from a system point of view, and from like how we set up and what we did, a little more pragmatic, was that, and we get to this now in terms of the pre-game for that, was that a little nod to what we maybe do against Liverpool, because we're going to need that.
I think so. If you think about how we played him in the first match, it was similar, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We played more balanced, and I think we didn't give them as much as we've given other teams, much worse teams, quite probably rightly. So in terms of other performances, I think Bentancur is playing some of his best football for us right now.
It just shows you how much you miss him as well, right? And the thing about him is he can play a game like that, and it's a weird one with a player like that, because often you can see a player like that, he's not getting assists, he's not scoring goals, but he's everywhere. And if you were to take him out of that team, you're going to really miss him. But I thought he was fantastic. He's doing such a good job. And I think there's actually an argument I think there's an argument for a double pivot with Bentancur and Gray, and then Kulusevski ahead of them.
Yeah,
the Liverpool
yeah.
game. Like that. That's what I think would work really well, because it was almost that against Brentford with Basuma, wasn't it?
Yes, I guess it will just depend on the defensive setup.
Yeah, and whether
Danso's going to play, whether he's going to play Ben Davis and Danso as the back two,
and it almost goes forgotten that Bentancur wasn't missing all of those weeks through injury. He was missing through, one could argue, an inconsistency in the rules. In that, if he's been banned, then how is Enzo Fernandez not? Well, we've covered that.
Well, let's be honest. He was banned for racist comments. The fact that the rules aren't consistently applied is secondary. Yeah, but you're right. It seemed unreasonable that he would get such a long ban and others not even reprimanded.
No problem for the ban, no problem for the reason for the ban. Problem with the inconsistencies across behaviours. That's
100%. 100%.
So him being back is huge. He's been really good. So looking ahead to Friday morning for me and Thursday night for you, the lineup, I think it's a bit of the elephant in the room because there hasn't been any official news, but
I've been trolling and
because I've only seen it on Twitter. I haven't seen any. And the interesting thing about that is BBC Sport broke news about Radu saying he's out for the season. So, and this club haven't said anything official. So is he out? Is he in? Is it nonsense? You know,
I have no idea. It's deathly silent in the social media sphere.
Well,
I'm hopeful that it's all fluff and media talk, and actually he's just having a rest. I'd take that.
Because if it is just having a rest, then the back four could look something like Porro, Danso, Van der Ven, Sven, or it could look Porro, Danso, Van der Ven, Davies, or you could have Spence at right back, Davies left back, Van der Ven dead.
There are many options.
Van der Ven being fit just opens up so many other options across the pitch, because then you could, as I just said, look at something like a double pivot with Bentancur and Archie Gray in midfield.
And the 45 minutes he played against Elfsborg, I think I said on the last pod, it's like we've been playing with 10 players and you've suddenly got 11 players again. It felt that much different having him in that defence. I don't know, Elfsborg spent most of the time camped in their own 6-yard box, but yeah, I just felt it was like any time they got a break, he was there, cleaned it up, and he's got the pace to get to stuff, but also got the pace to recover when maybe the other team's broken quickly. I just think it makes such a difference for our season if he was available for a Liverpool game.
Yeah,
because I'd feel more confident.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It just changes everything. He's the one player in our 11 that could play in a Liverpool 11, right?
Yeah,
in terms of what he brings. Now, as far as the midfield goes, as I just mentioned, we could mix it up with Bentancur and Gray if the back four and Van der Ven's available, or you could have Sarr, Bentancur and Gray in there. I think Basuma didn't do anything wrong against Brentford, but you can't drop Bentancur because I think he's so important. And I like Sarr, and I think he's off the back of scoring and he's in some confidence, right? So we're seeing it gives us legs. And then we were speaking offline, but you think Tell straight in the team?
I think so. I don't think that you send two directors and have the manager speak to a guy if you're just going to stick him on the bench.
Yeah,
I think we aren't exactly overflowing with attacking talent at the moment, and even the players that we have got, like Son's been off of his best, shall we say? I'm being very polite there. And even when he's had goal involvements, but actually his work off the ball hasn't been great, and he can't play up the middle. Whenever someone plays up the middle, the ball never sticks to him, and he seems to make really bad decisions as well. So yeah, I think having Tell play either up the middle or on one of either side of Richarlison gives us more options, and I think his pace and his movement would be important against Liverpool. We'll get anyone we play from now on. I think he's the right kind of player. He's what we wish Brendan Johnson was.
Yeah.
So I think he's a better, more rounded player. So, but we should see. I think I put Kulusevski, Teo and Son maybe, but not in any particular order. I think Kulusevski coming in off the right against Liverpool might work. But then equally, we could end up starting with Richarlison, right?
Well, mind you, look, another player to call out from Brentford was Richarlison. Now, he didn't score, he didn't get assists, but he bloody worked hard. He did. He run the channels, he was closing down. I mean, he was right on the edge. I mean, he could have got sent off. Right? He could have easily picked up 2 yellows.
Oh, yeah. And he's only just back off injury as well. So he's, gradually building match fitness, and he's looking stronger each game, I think.
Yeah.
So, look, we've got options at least now, which we didn't have before the transfer window closed.
And I think in the game itself, I mean, from a prediction point of view, I've said it all along. We're winning the League Cup. You've heard it here first. I've been saying this for a while. I think we're going to get the result we need. I can see it being like an edge of your seat score draw or something, like a 2-2, which gets us into the final. It's all going to be, for me, about the midfield battle, right? If Bentancur can really show up and play the way we know he can play, and we can win that midfield battle, then it's very much on. And keeping Salah quiet, right? And Spence did a good job at Mbeumo. Not saying that Mbeumo and Salah are the same player, but
he did a good job against Salah in the first game as well, right? As well.
Yeah. So,
but I think it depends on who's partnering Bentancur. I know if it's Gray, the two of them, I feel that would be a really good partnership.
And Liverpool, fortunately for them, have no injuries whatsoever. I mean, they've got Gomez, one. So, well, and I know we've got, and we'll cover that in another pod, but we've got Villa. Who do Liverpool have in the FA? Oh, they're away to Plymouth. So, they're not got a tricky one to look forward to. Anyway, I think a score draw. I think we're getting to the final. I don't know how it's going to play out. Really, could be like a 1-1 or 2-2. I think the first 25, 30 minutes, let's try and keep it tight, though. Don't get me wrong. I'd be happy with a 0-0.
Yeah. Likewise.
The League Cup seems to pick and choose when they have VAR and when they have extra time.
Yeah, rules are applied as
very
as seen fit on a game by game basis.
Yeah.
So for me, I can see a 2-2, like a high scoring.
Hope so. Draw.
I got me optimistic pants back on.
Yeah. I was out for a run the other morning, and I was on my own just listening to a podcast. After I was listening to Last Night on Spurs, and I just had this wave of excitement and optimism, and it's a big game, and we haven't been in one of those for a while, right? So I think the one thing for me, I'm just going to, as much as I can, I want to just try and enjoy it, right? I've got a mate coming over. We're going to have breakfast, and so we get it done. So we get to Wembley.
Yeah. I mean, the squad's decimated. The problem is we're so used to it now that we don't even think about it, right? But we've got, Maddison's still out, Odebert's out, Romero's out, Mickey van der Ven is a giant question mark, Timo Werner's out, Brendan Johnson's out, Destiny Udogi's out, Dominic Solanke's out, Vicario's out, Dragusin's now out. It's like, no other team's dealing with that. And
it also wouldn't...
And stringing results together.
Yeah, and it also wouldn't surprise me with an Ange, the way he can sometimes be is, for the Liverpool game, that suddenly we see Romero on the bench or something. I know he's getting closer and closer, he's saying. So, and who knows, mate? Let's hope that we start to get players back. One thing I'll be encouraged by is that Ange said, because they all went off in a cluster, as far as injuries, they should start to come back in a cluster. So that could...
Yeah, I think February's, a lot of them are due back in the month of February. And so that should be, fingers crossed on that.
The other thing you'd made some kind of notes on you wanted to cover was there's going to be a change in the Europa League squad, right? We can now it's essentially a bit of a reset, is it?
So after the league stage, and as we go into the knockout stage, we're allowed to make 3 changes to the squad. And now... That's interesting. Only 3. So we've we signed 3 players, and Spence was left out. Right,
But
so
Kingsley would replace Forster, right? So that's easy.
that's a change. One,
And then Spence would need to come in,
for drag us in,
because that's
or
a fourth one.
Udogie.
Probably drag us in, right? Because we know he's out for the season, so that's 2.
Yeah.
And then would Tell qualify because he's under 21?
No, this is why I looked at it. So that's a B list, right? Which is the youngsters. Age requirement has to have been born on or after January the 1st, 2003, which he was.
Yeah.
But you need to, since their 15th birthday, player must have been eligible to play for the club for an uninterrupted period of 2 years by the time of registration. So they've got to have played for you for 2 years. So even if they're 20 and 11 months, as long as they play for you for 2 years at any level. So the problem is that they need to have been with us for 2 years, so they can't be registered as List B. So they'd have to be. So here's my thoughts, right? So we're talking about Danso, Tell.
Oh, what about him? Yeah.
We need them, right? Because we need defenders.
Yeah.
And Spence and Kinski are the 4. I think Kinski misses out because I think we bring Tell in.
Yeah.
Because I think he could be transformational in terms of attacking, and we need the 2 defenders. Spence has been our best defender for the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And I think we need a centre back because they're all dead or injured or whatever they are. So yeah.
So basically, what you're left with is Brandon Austin.
Until Vicario's back. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then this age thing, 16-year-olds can be registered. So Mikey Moore would have already been registered, and that doesn't reset, right?
No.
He's
Pretty cool.
16, yeah. Okay.
No.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Because Tell you need in there, Spence and Dan, so you have to have it in there because that's what we need.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Reggie, irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, shrug of shoulders.
Yeah.
We didn't expect him to be around anyway.
And for my benefit and for the listeners, when is that potential knockout game then for Europa League? Does it go way into March?
It's round of 16. It's after so we got the playoff games first, haven't we?
Yeah, which are next week, I believe.
Yeah.
First leg, and then the second leg follows the following week. So I guess it would be then the first week of March, is it, when we play the last 16? Yeah, here we go. I've just pulled it up. Round of 16 is the 6th and the 13th of March. So
okay, so we should have more players back by then as well, right?
That's a good bit of time.
The fact that we're not in the playoffs actually plays really well in our favour in terms of players recovering to come back. We could be in a really strong position by that.
Do you think our first team 11, first team squad without the injuries, do you think that's a competition we can win? Or do you think that's underestimating?
Yeah, I actually think, I'm not saying all the games will be easy because there are still some decent teams in there. Like we played Galatasaray and we struggled against them, but we did play quite a weakened team, right?
Yeah.
And we were down to 10 men after Lancashire got sent off. But I think we can beat anyone that's left in the competition.
Well,
on our day.
Last week, Roma and Porto are playing each other in a playoff, so that gets one of those out, and you back them to do well in this competition.
Porto have just sold about 3 players as well, though. They've got financial issues. They sold 175 million euros worth of players.
Yeah, also Ajax is another one that you'd think to do better than they have been doing. And then in a sense of irony, AZ Alkmaar is a team we could play, and isn't that where Troy Parrott is?
Yes, we've obviously played them in the league format as well.
Draw
2-2 with them. I think we drew with them.
I think we did.
The home game as well.
No, sorry, we beat them 1-0. We beat them 1-0. Yeah, Richarlison a penalty. It was sometime ago, end of October.
Not our greatest performance then, because
no. Well, look, you're quite optimistic with that, and I've always been on the fence about why are we favourites, but I guess when you look at the teams and you look at there's no drop down from Champions League, so we're not going to have to run the risk of that. Again, I was sceptical of what UEFA had done with all of this change, but it seems to have worked. So fair play to them. They've got
Well,
no rifle box.
I think it's fairer on the Europa League teams because
Yeah.
if you look at Elfsborg, right? Elfsborg played 8 games to make the league stage, and then they've played 8 games in the league. So they've played 16 games in Europe. It's not fair that someone who did crap in the Champions League drops in and then knocks them out.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
So this is a tournament that everyone knows up front that the people in this are the people you're going to be playing all the way to the end. We could end up meeting Man U in the final, apparently, if you look at the draw. Yeah, and I fancy us against him. I know we've done them once already this season. We've got them coming up again in the league. Can you imagine that we met them in 3 tournaments?
Yeah. It'd be like Wimbledon all over again from all those years.
We played them in. Didn't we play them in the League Cup as well?
Yeah, we played Man United League Cup.
We've won. We've beat them in the league and the League Cup. We've got
to them. Yeah, one in the league. We beat them in the League Cup. They're still in the FA Cup.
Can you imagine like 2 finals, Europa League and FA Cup final?
So we've got obviously the League Cup semi-final, right? And I'm obviously 8,000 miles from England, and I have a bit of a rule. It's not really a rule. It's my preference and desires where it costs money and it costs planning. But if Tottenham get to a final, I'm usually there, right? I missed the Man City one recently because of COVID and the borders were locked. I missed the Man United one in 2009 because I was an idiot and went out drinking the night before, broke my ankle, didn't actually get to the game. My brother sent my ticket. And obviously Champions League final, right? So it doesn't happen very often, but I tend to get back for them. Now, wouldn't it just be my luck that we get to the League Cup final, I make the call to come back, we do a recording in studio, and then we get to Europa League final as well. Is it going to be 2 trips?
So March is going to be carnage, right? So I'm hopeful that we get players back because the second leg of the Europa League knockouts, round of 16, is 13th of March. And the League Cup finals on the 16th of March.
Yes. Do you remember we had that before in the 2009 when it was Harry Redknapp and we had a Thursday night UEFA Cup game and then we had the final on the Sunday and he just had to pick all the kids in the Thursday because it's just ridiculous. There should be...
It was we played, but we went out, didn't we?
Yeah. There should be something in place for mitigating circumstances such as that. Like, it should be able to be moved to the Wednesday or the Tuesday. Just give it an extra day. So silly. Well, let's hope it's a problem that we have, mate.
Other FAs in other countries move fixtures around to allow their teams to do better in Europe. We don't do that. Germany does it.
Germany does. And Germany has a nice rest as well, don't they? Well, what's your viewing? You've got a bit of a cold, so what's your viewing experience going to be for the League Cup semi-final, mate? You just sitting on your couch?
Well, I'm tempted to phone Gareth, my friend. He's a Liverpool fan. So that would be an entertaining evening, but I'm not sure if I would want to sit.
Now, is this the same Gareth responsible for our jingle?
It is. It is, okay. Indeed, yeah.
Well,
he's a big Liverpool fan, so I just whether I could put myself through it.
Yeah,
I'll have a think about it.
Yeah, I've rarely done that. I did it once, stupidly, with a mate in Denver. He was actually an Aussie, funnily enough, Dan, and he's a West Ham fan. And it was the game where we went to the pub together, and it was in the morning for us. And it was the game when Ravel Morrison had his one good game and tore us a new one. I think we lost 3-1 or 3-0.
You saw that trick.
That trick, yeah. I think we lost 3-0 or 3-1 at White Hart Lane. And then I had to drop him home.
I didn't ask him out a moving car.
Yeah, it was horrible. So I tend to err on the side of caution of doing that with opposing fans. But it would be lovely if you did it and we beat them.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Stuff.
No, but then it's really hard because you want to gloat and you can't, right? I'm quite happy to. Most people that I know, I have a bit of friendly banter with, but I'm not sure I'd want to do it with Gareth. Yeah. I don't think we've got that kind of relationship that it would survive it. Well, I like him a lot, and we get on really well. But yeah,
it's always fun. It's always fun until it isn't fun, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once you get into a bit of a mood, you always go too far.
Well, I always find I've got as you'd expect, I've got mates all around the world, really, but the particular ones in England where I've got Arsenal fan mates, Chelsea fan, West Ham fan mates, Liverpool mate and I, whatever. There's a bit of a respect between fans of old where you just don't really say anything. And then I've got a mate who's a gooner in America, and every time they beat us, he like gets on me, and I'm just like, don't do that.
You haven't earned the right to do that.
Yeah. Well, look, before we go, I did want to call out, and I don't know if you had anything else, but before we go, I just wanted to call out a huge thank you to our listeners and our downloads, because you sent out some really interesting stats. Now, for our listeners out there, some notable stats are downloads are the highest number is from the US. So we're going to be sending out some comms to various supporters clubs. So look out for that if you are a listener and you'd like to come on. But also, I'd like to call out the likes of, we've got listeners in Iraq, Morocco, Puerto Rico, and the UAE. So if you're listening and you are a Spurs supporters group in those countries, we'd love to hear from you. It'd be great to get you on.
Even if you're not, come on anyway.
Yeah, come on.
Start one.
Yeah, we could start one if you're a Spurs fan.
And it's funny, this week I've been thinking about, we talk a lot about Spurs supporters clubs, and I used to run one at Amazon, which was the first sort of commercial company that was an official supporters club. So I was working at Amazon Prime Video around the time that they did the All or Nothing Tottenham series. And so I spoke to I knew a couple of guys who were involved in the documentary, and I said, would you be okay if we did this? And they're like, yeah, absolutely fine, but you can't call it. And as it turned out, I couldn't call it Amazon Spurs because there's actually an Amazon, like as in rainforest in South America, supporters club. I don't know who the fuck's watching it down there. They've even got electricity and televisions. I was quite surprised. But anyway, we called it All or Nothing Spurs. So I still keep in contact with a lot of my ex-colleagues who still work at Amazon, and we have a little Slack channel where we talk to each other during the matches. So that's quite nice. But I'm thinking I kind of miss that sort of camaraderie that you get from like supporters club. So I'm thinking about. I reached out today to there's a Hampshire Spurs, which I'm obviously in. I'm in North Hampshire, and I think they're based around Basingstoke, which isn't that far from me, but. I've tried, this is the second time I've reached out to them and not had a response, and their Facebook page hasn't been updated for 2 years. And I'm beginning to think it's sunk without a trace. Well, they didn't.
Am I looking at the new chairman in waiting of the Hampshire Spurs?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm quite up for that. If no one else is going to do it, I'm happy to pick up the mantle and give it a go. I've got great ideas for a venue for match days. Well, I'll be reaching out to some of my local Tottenham fans in Yateley, and there's a few of them. One of them was actually the chairman of Yateley United Football Club, where I coached a team for about 10 years. So, Colin Ive, shout out to Colin Ive if you're listening, Colin.
There you go.
I'll be coming to see you soon, and we can hopefully.
And look, mate, on a serious note and another plug. I'm part of a men's group, and it's called When No One's Watching. W Now is the acronym. And it really is about combating loneliness and doing something about, there's something crazy like 60 suicides an hour across the world. It's just mad. Anyway, so I meet every Wednesday morning. It's a Wednesday morning today. We meet at 6 and we have a sense of community. We go for coffee or we do other stuff together as well. We go for dinner. So even from that point of view, mate, if you can get something going in the community, gets people out, gets people together, other Spurs fans, like-minded.
Yeah, I know, but
a chat.
But for the same reason that we just talked about, it has to be a Spurs one because I don't want to do. I'm not doing mixed watch along.
Do not do mix.
Have no. That's got fist fight written all over it.
Keep it clean, because I remember a war story. 2016, I was at the Euros. I go to a lot of tournaments when I can, and the game we were at was England-Slovakia. We drew 0-0, and it was just a dire performance. Roy Hodgson was manager. Harry Kane was taking corners. It just wasn't good. And in the main square of the city we were in, it just became really nasty really quickly at the bar, and it became fractious with West Ham, Chelsea, Tottenham. It just wasn't nice.
What match was it?
It was
Marseille, was it?
It was Saint-Etienne.
Okay.
The Marseille game was the Russia game where it kicked off.
Yeah, that's because the Russians were there, and not the supporters.
And it was interesting to me how quickly it turned. Like, we came out of the stadium, 20 minutes on the train, we were in the main square, and then everybody was just angry and annoyed, and it just became fractious and horrible. So yeah, do not mix, keep it Spurs only. But if there's Spurs fans out there that need connection and want to come and have it as a community,
Spurs fans don't need anyone else to have an argument. We can have an argument in an empty room.
yeah, we do a great job at that. Yeah, indeed. So yeah,
that'd be me. I'm going to give it a go. I'm trying to reach someone. But if you're involved in Hampshire Spurs, or you know anyone in Hampshire Spurs, please let me know, because I'd like to speak to them to figure out what they're doing and where they're doing it.
Indeed. Well, good stuff, mate. But on that note, we've got a huge semi-final to look forward to. I think we're going to do it. I think we're going to be in the final. And come on, you Spurs.
Thanks for everyone who's listened in. Please like and subscribe to the podcast to tickle the algorithm so we can get in front of more Spurs supporters. And to close us out, as Glenn said, come on, you Spurs.
You can contact us on email at tottenhamhomeandaway@gmail.com or on Twitter X @TottenhamH&A.
Let me be